Hello, Merry Christmas everyone. I just wanted to say that I filmed this video quite late last night, so my brain wasn't quite firing on all cylinders, but I think what I'm saying is still 100% what I intended. It just is presented in a little bit of a different way. So let me know what if you think of the video in the comments, whether you think I need more energy or you like that type of video, and let's get straight into it. Hello and welcome back to the Behold Disc Golf YouTube channel. Today we've got a little late night lesson for you, and I've got my glasses to look smart and important, so you listen to me. Right, we're going to be talking about treating your game like a muscle. Now, the whole theme of this video is basically when you're treating your game like a muscle, you're acting as if your game is like when you go to the gym and you work out and you train your biceps, and then you get big strong biceps, and you do this over a certain period of time consistently, your biceps will then eventually go bigger, and eventually, when you've played and you've trained your game like a muscle, your game will get better. And then, let's say you don't play anymore for a bit, you're going to lose some of that muscle, and your game's going to get worse. Right? Train disc golf like the gym. Yes. So, what does that look like? Time 5 to 6 days a week. Now, if you're going to go to the gym, you're going to say, right, I want to train probably for the maximum amount of gain 5 to 6 times a week, because the disc golf is just like the gym in that, just like your muscles, in that you're going to be doing things that cause muscular uh, breakage, and then the muscles are going to need to repair, and they're going to need time to repair. It's the same with you. This is quite physical. There's a lot of walking. You're going to need time to repair, and that will come in having a day off on some days. And then also, you've got to think in terms of your brain. Your brain's going to be doing the same thing. It needs time off the course where it needs to repair, and just to let yourself want it again. Even like if you go every day, you might get more tired of playing. All right, prep like the gym. If I was going to go to the gym, I'd probably say, right, well, I want to work as good as possible, and my muscles need to be supplied with everything it needs. So does my brain. So I'm going to be taking things like creatine. I'm going to be hydrating myself with water. I'm going to be having electrolytes and snacks that are going to make me going to benefit me in a positive way, give me energy. Things like a banana. So next, number 4, train for what? Train for what you want to do. Now, if I want to, this is taking it down to elementary level, basic level. If I want to train to be a bigger backhand thrower, then I'm gonna need to go, okay, well, how do I actually get more distance? Well, first of all, my form's probably going to need to be better. I'm going to need to take a look at some form work. I'm going to be needing to do some distance training. I need to be throwing as hard as possible in certain sessions, distance sessions, so that I can actually practice throwing as fast as possible. And then I'm going to be doing things like going to the gym, training for explosive movements, and giving my muscles more ability, giving my muscles a higher ceiling, giving them more power so that I can actually throw further. Look at Nick Crush, look at his muscular frame. He can throw further because his form might not be the best. He's got so much potential with his muscles. And next, we are going to be looking at train how you actually want it to work. Now, I've got this little drawing in the corner here, and if I want to improve my ability to, let's say, make more putts from a certain range, I need to practice putting, obviously, but I need to do things I need to have a target and a purpose for each throw, of course. And this is what these kind of scenarios are aiming to get us to do. So on here, I've put 4 meters, you've got to make 8 out of 10, 6 meters, 6 out of 10, 8 meters, 4 out of 10. And you've got to have the aim of, right, I'm going to make those amounts of putts. And if I hit the checkpoint of making those amounts of putts or more, then I move up and I make it more difficult for myself. And so I progressively overload, and let's say make it at same numbers, but at 5 meters, 7 meters, and 9 meters. And then I need to have, there's a study done on mice, and they're in a cage, and if you waft the smell of cheese in from the front, they pull. But if you waft the smell of cheese in from the front and a mouse in from behind, they pull even harder. So it's the same for you, for your game. You need to have something. So if you get below a certain level, you've got to keep it countable. If you get below a certain level, let's say you make half or less, then you move back down a level. And then this means that every putt you'll be riding on that putt like it's nothing else. You're going to be celebrating like Luke Dodd winning 2 skins at the skins match. Shout out Luke. And so yeah, this is basically making sure that every single putt that you're doing is super important to you, and you're going to be giving your best effort towards it. Because if you give your best effort towards it, you're going to get the best results possible back from it. And if you let yourself slack, then you're going to be doing nothing of the same. You're going to be getting worse results. And so like after a tournament, I always find I play way better after a tournament, because I've thrown so many shots where I was throwing them absolutely to the best of my ability, and come off that tournament, I'm like, I need to do this more often. And so that type of thing is what you need to do. And so it's like, if you were to play against, if you were to set yourself really hard goals, you're going to be constantly bringing yourself up. It's going to be more frustrating, but eventually you'll receive more long-term gains than if you were to just do mindless practice. Mindless practice, you get mindless results. Right. Then also, I've put a similar thing for 50 meters, 60 meters backhand. It's just an example. Another example. We don't really need to go through that, but we do need to say record. Record is one of the most important things you can do, and it's important to review each of the things you do, as much review as possible. And we literally learn from reviewing. Obviously, we learn from failure. I'm going to do another video on that. But the more you review, the more you take a look at what you've done, the more you can learn from it, the more you can improve because of that. And this is like, if you're not reviewing what you're doing, then you're a silly human being. I was trying to rhyme. That was awful. You really need to review what you do and track your progress, because and watch yourself back, because I can't stress enough how much input you get from that, and how much you'll be able to improve. The more you, I'm kind of saying this to myself, the more that you review, the better you're going to get, as long as you have the right goals and aims, and are willing to put in the effort, and as smart as possible about how you're doing things, then you're going to be good. All right, we've got on the course, generic gym session equals on the course, and that's going to give you 90% of what you need. So if I was doing a generic gym session, I've got it written down and I stick to that. As long as I stick to it, the more you stick to it, obviously, if you stick to your goals, you're going to reach exactly your goals. So you've got to stick to everything. If you stuck to exactly the type of nutrition you wanted to have, then you get the exact results that you deserve. But if you're doing a generic gym session, it's kind of the same as playing a disc golf round. You can get the gains that you put in. Like if I just have a relaxed gym session, I'm not really trying that hard. It's like the same as if I was having a relaxed round, I'm not trying that hard. Next round's not going to be much better, but over the long course, it's not much going to change. But if I put in as much work as possible, then I'm going to get the best results possible, because we're putting in all of my effort and getting all the results back, getting the maximum amount of results, and I'm going to be improving. However, it's not everything. There are certain, let's say, situations where you need to, let's say, go on the course, do this type of thing, but go for a chip forehand in a stretched out position and get, I don't know, a certain number out of 30 within the circle from that position. And there's situations where specific shots you need to practice for, and specific forms you need to practice for situations, not only because it might happen in a course that's not your course, but just in general for overall being good at the game, like giving yourself those difficult things where you're constantly trying to improve on them will help you reach that extra 10%, because you can't just get it from being on the course. However, most of the stuff you can get from being on the course. Set goals, SMART goals. I will go through this properly in a different video, but SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, repeatable, and timed. Timed a big one. Loads of people don't do timed goals, and Parkinson's law, work fills the time you allow it, something like that. Anyway, you need to set timed goals and obviously record them. And I was trying to go through this earlier, but the video was just taking too long. I'm about to talk about another thing I learned on the Modern Wisdom podcast, and the details are basically there was a group of school children who, over the course of a term, had a PE lesson where they were only doing beanbag tosses. One group from 4 feet, and the other group from 3 feet and 5 feet only. And then at the end of the term, they got tested against each other, and it turned out the group that had done 3 feet and 5 feet only were actually better than the group that did 4 feet only. And so this shows how if you vary your training and you become more adaptable and more durable, instead of just focusing on a specific thing like the 4 feet beanbag, or if you were on the disc golf course, if you only trained a specific angle, you're probably not going to be as good overall, or even at a specific angle, as if you trained every other angle, if you know what I mean, like throwing angles. And so that is definitely something to think about, that because you would think that the 4 feet group obviously are going to be good at 4 feet, but they're not. It's just how the brain works. Progressive overload. I wrote rigidity earlier, and every time I look at that, I instantly forget what it means. But repetition. So if you're progressively overloading, you're slightly don't do it more than the general consensus is more than 10% per week. But you can do things to improve a disc golf game, like increase the amount of repetition you do for, let's say, I don't know, your chip forehand practice, or just overall playing the amount of holes that you play, and then increasing the distance of, let's say, the shots that you're practicing from. Instead of practicing from 120 meters, you practice from 125 next week, and then you keep going up and trying to maintain the same amount of accuracy percentages, let's say. And then difficulty, so increase. Let's say you wanted to put you make the basket smaller every week and try and hit the same amount of numbers as you were doing before. So increasing the difficulty, all of these things. Progressive overload has other aspects that it will help you out on, in terms of keeping the game fun, and if you feel like you're improving, and many other things. I would advise looking up progressive overload meaning, and then seeing the AI overview. There's a lot of information that you can really attribute to disc golf training just on that one little page. And then actually go to the gym. I can't describe how many benefits there are to this. I'm going to go through this in other videos, but going to the gym is going to help your coordination. It's going to help your mental. It's going to help your power, your endurance. So many things. Can't stress it enough how good it is to go to the gym, especially if you're older, and also the amount of muscle mass that you can have, or the amount of actual muscle mass that you could hold on your body is the greatest predictor, I believe, found in a recent study, of your actual health. So if you have more muscle mass on your body, you're going to be technically healthier and more likely to live longer. The more muscle mass you can have. Obviously, don't use tren, but that is quite a significant finding. So if you've got a lot of muscle mass, just for an injury point of view, you're going to be a lot more resistant to injury. That's kind of what I was meaning to say before I got on that little tangent. And then I want you to take a look at Olympic lifters. This is some homework. Olympic lifting is quite a technique sport. You obviously have to have the technique perfect. And I think that we can learn a lot from other sports. So I would take a couple of watches at some videos and what the Olympic lifters do, because obviously it's very competitive, and I'd have a look at some YouTube videos of that. That's kind of some relaxed learning for you. And then review. Ask yourself, how can I apply this situation? Forgive me. How can I apply this situation in going to the gym. Now, let's say I'm struggling to know how much I should train. Well, I can apply the situation to the gym. If I'm going, or I don't know what type of drills I should do, how am I going to improve my backhand form? Well, I can just apply this situation to the gym and say, what would I do in the gym? If I'm going, how, if I'm saying when I'm about to go for a fieldwork session, and I'm like, okay, well, what would I do if I was about to go for a gym session? Okay, well, I will get my electrolytes in. It's like, just because it hasn't reached the activation level of going to the gym, you're going to properly feel your muscles cramping. You might not feel your muscles cramping when you're playing a disc golf round, but you shouldn't need to get to the level where your muscles are cramping to know that you should prepare so that you can give yourself the best chance for your muscles to work best with your if you know what I mean. I think you'll know what I mean from that. The gym is an extreme thing for your body, and you're putting out max exertion, so you might cramp or something like that. Whereas on the disc golf course, you're not going to cramp, but you're still doing similar activities, so your performance will be best if you prepare the same as you would if you were going to the gym. And finally, your brain is your muscle controller. Let's say I'm dehydrated, my brain can't control my muscles as effectively, it is impaired. So you must treat, that's just one example, there's many other examples, you must treat your brain as well as possible. Sleep's such a huge thing. If you're getting silly amounts of sleep, as some people I've spoken to, then that is just going to hurt you in every aspect of life. And I can't stress enough how, if you want your muscles to work well, you've got to be kind to your brain. So this has been Behol, the disc tutor. Thank you so much for watching the first late night lesson. It is currently a couple of AMs in the morning. I was going to do 2 of these, but I am off to bed. Thank you very much for watching, and